I was 17 when I stopped calling my parents by their names, stopped answering their texts, stopped feeling like they were even my parents. They called it rebellion. I called it awakening. They said I was lost. I said I had finally found truth. But looking back now that the chants are silent, now that the incense has long burned out and the robes have been thrown away, I know what I really found wasn't truth. It was a man named Aaron. He wasn't born Aaron. His real name was something plain, forgettable. But when you met him, you never forgot. He spoke like he was translating the universe in real time. His eyes didn't look at you. They read you. And when he smiled, it felt like the warmth you'd been searching for your whole life. I met him at a small retreat in Northern California just after graduation. A friend had invited me. I thought it'd be yoga and vegan food and maybe some crystals. Instead, I walked into a circle of people who looked like they had already been reborn. Bare feet, shaved heads, everyone hugging for too long. And in the middle, Aaron, white robes, beads around his neck, and a voice that made you want to kneel just so you didn't interrupt it. He spoke of letting go, of shedding false family attachments. He said the world outside was addicted to illusion, and we were addicts for obeying it. I had never felt seen before, but suddenly I wasn't just seen, I was understood. He looked at me once during a meditation and said, "You've been programmed since birth. They fed you shame and called it protection. They trained you to fear freedom." And I believed him. Not overnight. But it started like a drip, and soon I was drowning in it. I went home after that retreat, but I didn't really come home. I stayed in my room, meditated for hours, started dressing in all white, told my parents they were asleep and I couldn't be around their vibrations. My dad tried to laugh it off. My mom cried, and I packed my bags without even saying goodbye. That was the first time I walked away from everything I'd ever known. But it wouldn't be the last. I moved into what they called the temple. It was just a dusty ranch house 2 hours from anywhere. There were about 12 of us living there. We shared rooms, slept on mats, gave up phones. We called Aaron the vessel. He didn't ask us to. We just did. At first it was beautiful. We woke up at sunrise, chanted, gardened. No news, no notifications, no mirrors. I felt weightless, like I'd shed everything false and finally touched something pure. But slowly, so slowly I didn't notice at first, things began to change. We weren't allowed to talk to our families anymore. They were anchors of ego, Aaron said. We were encouraged to confess our sins to him privately, our sexual thoughts, our childhood traumas, our insecurities. He said only by exposing the shadow could we become light. I told him things I had never told anyone. He nodded, thanked me, kissed my forehead. I felt holy. He began choosing initiates to help him with deeper cleansing. Only women, always younger, always told they were special. I wasn't chosen. At first I felt relieved. Then I felt jealous. That's how deep it went, that's how twisted we became. When one girl, Tessa, started crying during a session, we were told she was resisting the divine. We were told not to console her. That pain was purification. She left in the middle of the night, just disappeared. We never spoke of her again. Aaron said when people reject their dharma, they fade away. And we believed him. We needed to believe him. Because if we didn't, if we allowed even one crack in the mirror, it all would shatter. I stopped recognizing myself in the mirror, and that, they said, was a good thing. But I was starting to feel something. A quiet, low hum of dread under everything. Like my soul was trying to whisper through the noise. I'd fall asleep to the sound of others chanting his name. And I'd wonder what happened to my mom's voice. The way she'd say goodnight with a soft kiss on my hairline. I hadn't heard that in over a year. One day I found a letter tucked in the folds of my meditation robe. No name, just shaky handwriting. If you're reading this, you feel it too. He is not who he says he is. You are not trapped. There is still time. I never found out who wrote it, but I carried it hidden in my waistband for weeks, folded into a tiny square like a lifeline. Then came the raid. Police, flashing lights, screams, Agents stormed the temple like it was a crime scene, because it was. The raid happened in the early morning, right before sunrise. That moment in the day where it's too dark to fight but too light to hide. We were meditating, knees folded, eyes closed, humming that same chant we'd repeated for months. I remember the door crashing in, the shrill of boots on floorboards, screams that didn't sound human. One of the officers grabbed me by the arm. I remember the warmth of his glove, the confusion in his voice. "Are you okay?" he asked. I didn't know how to answer. What is okay when you've burned every bridge, given away your identity, and built a home on a lie? They arrested Aaron, not quietly. He stood at the top of the stairs, calm as ever, eyes half-lidded like it was all part of some divine prophecy. "They fear what they don't understand," he said to us as they cuffed him. Some of the followers screamed. One tried to bite an officer. Others cried and reached for him like he was being crucified. I stood still, absolutely still, not because I wasn't afraid, but because something had snapped. I finally saw the house, not as a temple, but as a decaying farmhouse with mold in the corners and roaches in the kitchen. I saw the robes as old hotel sheets dyed white, the altar as a cheap table with dollar store candles, and I saw him, not as a divine vessel, but as a man who had convinced broken people that their brokenness was holy. They found the files, hundreds of them, handwritten confessions from nearly every woman who'd passed through the house, letters, audio recordings, even footage. He had recorded us, in our most vulnerable moments, in therapy-style purification sessions. Some worse than that. They found bank statements, donations from parents, inheritances, credit cards opened under false names. I hadn't just lost myself. I'd helped him destroy others. The days that followed were a blur. They gave us clothes, took us to a crisis center, asked us questions in soft voices. I didn't speak for almost 2 days. When I finally did, the first words out of my mouth were, "Can I call my mom?" She answered on the first ring. No hesitation, just her voice cracking. "Baby," I sobbed. Not the cinematic kind, the ugly, retching kind, the kind that empties something out of you forever. She drove 6 hours to pick me up, brought a sweater, my old one, still smelled like home. I don't remember the drive back, only the silence, and her hand, always on mine. That was 5 years ago. Aaron is in prison now. He still has a small group of believers who write to him. Some of them tried to contact me, call me a traitor. I don't respond. I don't even feel angry anymore, just tired. I go to therapy now, twice a week. I work part-time at a bookstore. I run a support group for people who've escaped spiritual abuse. Sometimes I still catch myself repeating his phrases, like they're lodged somewhere deep in my brainstem, but I correct them. Out loud, I remind myself, truth doesn't isolate. It doesn't demand silence. It doesn't destroy your family. I'm rebuilding, not into who I was before. That girl is gone, but into someone new. Someone with scars, yes, but someone who knows the difference between peace and control. I saw my dad last month. We had lunch. He gave me this weird handmade wooden owl, something he carved while I was gone. He said, "I didn't know how to help you, so I just kept carving. I figured someday I'd give this to you when you were ready." I held that owl in my hands, felt every splinter and groove, and I cried, not because of what I'd lost, but because I was still here. And some part of me still believed in starting over. I used to think I had ruined my life, that I had wasted years, abandoned love, broken my own future. But now I think I just took the long way back. And maybe, just maybe, that was the only way I'd ever learn what real love actually looks like.